What's up, guys? Today we encountered a problem. We're doing a LS swap on this OBS Chevy. It's a 95, but 88 to 98s. You're gonna be pretty much in the same boat. We bought motor mounts for the LS, which these are Dirty Dingoes. You can get different ones. There's several options, but these motor mounts will go just like this. The reason we chose Dirty Dingo is because they give you 2.5 inches of sliding back and forth, this way or this way. There's other ones that are, you know, 40, 50, 60 bucks. These were 100, but they allow you to keep the stock location AC compressor. And we learned through a lot of research that there is no one that really covered that if you're coming from a V6 truck, so this truck was a V6, you're gonna have these style motor mounts, which I went back, I already recorded the video and then realized I didn't do an intro, so you're gonna see this kind of backwards, but I'm gonna show you guys how to get those mounts out and what mounts you need, which are these that come out of a 5.7 V8 OBS. So any of the 88 to 98s that came with a 5.7, they had this motor mount, and that's the style that you need to switch to. If you have a V6 truck, you need to take those mounts out, put that mount in, and then your LS conversion mounts will work. Not many people say that on forums. They don't tell you that that's what you need to do, so here we are. We're going to show you what you need to do, what was the easiest way for us to get it done, and hopefully that helps some people out. So here we go. Okay, so we did some research and realized that the motor mount doesn't have to be, well, it does have to be taken out. We found out we needed a V8 clamshell, which some call it the clamshell, some call it the, what do you call it, the puck? Yeah. So since we had a V6 truck, we have to get the V8 puck, which is basically the same as the motor mount, but they're different since from the V6 to the V8. So we're gonna go to the brand new AutoZone here in Hera, where I live. Well, I actually live south of Hera, but it's brand new, and it just opened like 2 weeks ago, so that saves us from having to drive 30 minutes into town. So we're gonna go up there. It shows on the website that they have those motor mounts in stock, so we're gonna buy those, and then we'll get back to the truck, take the V6 mounts out, put these new ones in, and then we should have our motor mount situation solved, hopefully. The mounts, you might confuse them for James's nuts right now, but we got them. The new AutoZone here in Hera is actually pretty decent. We don't approve of the cable management they did in there, but you know, we're no inspectors or anything. So we're gonna head back to the house. Ooh, something's on fire. There's a fire! This is small enough of a town where we should drive over there and see what's on fire. Might be Nana Jean's house.
My new mixtape.
Yeah. Yeah, James's mixtapes over there. I told him to wait till tomorrow, dang it. But anyways, we're gonna head back to the house and get those V6 mounts out, and then figure out how to bolt these bitches in there, and we'll be good to go. So all right, so we got the passenger side done. Our theory did work out. So the easiest way we think to do this is you lower control arm bolts, that the two that connect to the actual like engine side, not the ball joint side, but this side. Take those out. And then we had to have a floor jack like right here to kind of hold the pressure up to get the bolt slid out. But don't worry, there's not like, it's not gonna like slam down. It didn't do that at all. Just enough pressure to make the hole straight so we could pull the bolts out. And then we let that down. And then the only thing holding it up, which we didn't take out first, was the upper shock mount. It's just a nut. Take your upper shock nut out, and then that'll let that whole assembly just sag down just enough for you to get in this hole right here, which I know you can't see nothing, but that hole right there gives you a straight line to put a wrench on the back side of that. You'll think you need to shove a socket up there on a extension and all that, and the easiest way we did was to put a wrench in there, and this is backwards. You'll be coming up from this side, but basically you'll have a wrench on it like this on the bottom. That's the easiest way to do it, because the way the bolts sit, if you go in, you're at an angle like this, and even if you have a wobble, it's still. If you got to do it by yourself, you would do the wrench on the bottom and then hold your arm up here with the ratchet or impact if you got one. This would be the time to have a buddy. You crawl under there, do the dirty work, hold the wrench, have your buddy zap the bolts off. Cake. And then the only one was the back one. It's in a separate, it's actually, you can't access it from the hole that you get to these two. You have to get to it through the spring hole. And we didn't want to take the spring and all that out. So what we did was we held the whole motor mount, and we basically like pried it this way to put pressure on the nut, and just impacted it off that way, and just kept prying and prying to hold pressure on it so it actually unthread. If you don't want to do that, or you don't have an impact, then you'll have to actually do it the right way and take the spindle loose, which this point here, the easiest way would be to get the I forget what these are called right now because I just went blank, but take those loose, take your tie rod end loose, take your upper ball joint loose, take the spindle out of the way, and that'll drop this whole lower control arm, spring, all that. It'll drop all that out of the way, and then you can reach your hand up in that spring pocket, put a wrench in there, and do it that way. Two-wheel drive only. Yeah, two-wheel drive only for sure. We didn't want to do it that way, so like I said, we just kind of pried on it and put pressure on it and then impacted the nut off. So next thing, we're going to move to the driver's side. It's going to be the same idea. We're just going to drop the lower control arm bolts there and there, and then drop the lower control arm out. We'll get these bolts, and then we notice on the driver's side it's a little different. It's got these two bolts here, but I'm pretty sure these are actually going to be in that same cavity, so I'll be able to put the wrench on these from the inside, and we'll get those instead of this one. There's actually, like, when you go up in this hole, there's a wall right here to where, just convenient enough, GM stuck it in your ass so you couldn't put a wrench on that side while you were already there. I don't know why they did that, but so here we go. We're gonna get the driver's side off and we'll come back. All right, so we got both sides switched out with the 5.7 V8 style motor mounts. Everything, as far as the nuts and bolts lining up, everything was perfect. We didn't have to drill anything out or nothing. Your V6 mounts use two holes over here. They're closer together. They're actually lower than this one, but this hole is already there for I guess they used the same frame and then just swapped out the mount. So we didn't film a lot of the process, but it did work for us to just drop the lower control arm bolts. Just do both of these right here. Don't do the ball joint. Take both of these bolts out, and it's kind of a bitch. And then loosen the shock. We did it from the top. You could do it from the bottom or take it completely out. However you want to do that. But we used a floor jack. So basically when we undid the shock and undid these bolts, we just let it sag, and it sags out of this pocket just enough for you to fit a wrench up into this cavity, and you can put a wrench on these bolts. And like I said, we suggest a wrench, not a socket, because you'd have to be at such an angle. It's just you can do this by yourself as far as having a wrench in here and then turning this other side. If you had an impact, that'd be great. If you're doing it with a ratchet, that's going to be tough. We don't suggest you trying to do this by yourself, as far as, because when you're trying to put this back together, you're going to get really discouraged. You're going to think we're those dudes who made that video where we said, oh, you can do it this way, it's real easy. And then you do it and you're like, how in the fuck did they? Trust me, it was a bitch. It was hard. But with the floor jack, don't do this unless you got some kind of bottle jack or floor jack or something. You got to have something. We were mainly lifting right here and right here along this surface to get these holes lined up to get the bolts back through. And trust me, it is hard. It's extremely difficult the way you're jacking, the way that hole pivots and the arm moves, and it's tough to get it right. But if you got a buddy, at least one, maybe two, 3 hands would be perfect. You can get it lined up together and keep working it, and you'll get it through. You might have to start it with a ratchet to get it to thread through the hole if it's real tight, but keep at it, keep your patience, and you'll get it done. And that's it. That's how you get from V6 mounts to V8 motor mounts. I guess you could do this if you were doing a TBI 5.7 swap into an originally V6 truck, but we're doing an LS. So we found out that, like we said earlier, these Dirty Dingo mounts, which you can use other ones, we just chose the Dirty Dingos because that allows us to slide the engine forward enough to use the factory truck AC compressor that goes right here. And the only reason that we did these, like we said, if you don't use those mounts, the motor sits back far enough that AC compressor would hit the frame right here. You wouldn't be able to use it. So we went with the Dirty Dingo mounts. They're about twice the price of regular eBay ones you're going to find. You're going to see them for like 40 to 60 bucks. Dirty Dingos are 110 or something like that. But they allow you 2.5 inches of sliding if you want to retain the factory AC compressor, which we did because $50 extra in motor mounts is a lot cheaper than the couple $100 in the accessory brackets to get an AC compressor up here, or all those bracketry, all that is like $200 to $500. So pay 50 bucks for motor mounts and keep everything stock, or pay 300 and move everything around. It's up to you. But that's going to end it out for us. Like I said, sorry we didn't film the whole process, but it's pretty straightforward. Like we said, these are a 24 millimeter. We happened to have a 24 millimeter socket around from when we did our crankshaft bolt, our crankshaft pulley bolt right here. We already had a 24 that just so happened to be the same size as this right here. We used a crescent on the other side because we didn't have a 24 millimeter wrench or another socket. So that's on you. These were 15s? Yep. So you'll want a 15 socket and wrench. You'll need a deep 15 for your shock bolts if you do it from the top. If you do it from the bottom, that's up to you, however you want to do it. Other than that, patience, a couple pry bars, and a floor jack. That's about all you need. You can do it this way. So that'll be it for us. Check out the channel if you want to see more about an OBS getting LS swapped. Other than that, we're out. Later.